Let's look at polynomial vocabulary with adding, subtracting, and multiplying. What do you call a parrot that won't eat? A polynomial. We're going to learn some vocabulary. We're going to name polynomials by their degree and number of terms. We'll look at adding, subtracting, and multiplying them. So let's get ready. You're going to need to take some notes with this vocabulary and do some problems along the way. This is a polynomial, so what do you notice? Well, first off, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Terms are separated by plus or minus signs. Also, we have x to the 3, x to the 2, x to the 1. This is essentially x to the 0, which is 1. So our exponents are in descending order. So this is standard form. So after you add, subtract, multiply, divide, you should make sure your answers are in standard form. This first term, once it's in standard form, is called my leading term, and the 4 is called my leading coefficient. The 8 is the constant. The constant doesn't have any variable with it. So there we go. Standard form, exponents in decreasing order, leading coefficient, degree, and we have 4 terms. So let's look at classifying. And when we classify, we look at the degree, the highest degree of the exponent, and the number of terms. So here's some examples. And these are just examples. They're not going to match up. You don't memorize matching up. We're going to learn the words. So just filling in, we have the 3, which is a constant, and then 1 term, which is a monomial. In our second example, we have x to the 1, and that would be linear. If you graph that, it's going to come out to be a line. I have 2 terms, so 2 terms is a binomial. X squared minus 6, we're going to name that a quadratic, and it has 2 terms, so it's a binomial. We have another quadratic, but now we have 1, 2, 3 terms, so this is an example of a quadratic trinomial. When we have something that is x to the 3rd, the word we're going to use is cubic. And anything beyond a tri is a poly. Poly means many, so this is an example of a cubic polynomial. X to the 4th is quartic, like 4 quarts in a gallon, and x to the 5th is quintic, like somebody having quintuplets. So go ahead and try to classify these. Here we have a quartic binomial. Here we have a quadratic trinomial. And the last one is a cubic polynomial. When we add polynomials, you are just combining like terms. So that means you're putting the same variable group with the same variable group, and you don't change your variable group, and then you would classify that by number of terms and degree. Go ahead and try these. So notice I have parentheses. All the parentheses are saying is I have 3 terms plus 2 terms. It's not a distributive property. So you're just combining like terms. And we get that. And I usually do it in order so that it comes out to be in standard form. This one is not in standard form. I'm just going to combine like terms and get 6x to the 4th plus 3x cubed plus 6x minus 7 for a quartic polynomial. Subtract, it's the same rules, combining like terms. Just make sure you are actually subtracting everything. Be careful with the subtraction signs. So we have 2x squared minus 5x squared for a negative 3x squared. Negative 8x minus a negative 3x is a negative 5x. And then 6 minus a negative 9 is 15. And then we distribute the negative to everything here. So we have 4x to the 4th, a negative or minus 5x squared. And then negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11. Be careful with those negatives and the subtraction signs. When we multiply, we need to remember our rules of exponents. So when we have the same base, in this case we have a base of a, then we add our exponents. So our variable group does change once we multiply. And we're just going to do the distributive property. We see the parentheses. Make sure you distribute that to everything inside. So this is going to become 3x to the 6th minus 15x to the 4th With this binomial times a binomial, you need to make sure the 2x goes to everything. So I get 8x cubed minus 2x, and then the negative 3 has to go to everything for minus 12x squared plus 3. I'm going to put my final answer in standard form, rearrange it a little bit. Oops, that's a 3. And just to recap, make sure your answers are in standard form. The leading coefficient is the number in front of the largest variable. Terms are separated by plus and minus signs. You need to know your terms, number of terms words, monomial, binomial, trinomial, polynomial. Classify by degree, constant, linear, quadratic, cubic, quartic, and quintic. Add and subtract your combining like terms. Multiplying, you're using your rules of exponents. Good job.